Welcome to Calibration Circle. This is May 2026, I think we're in. It's been that kind of week. What year are we? May 2026. We have two full seasons of Calibration Circle under our belt, and this is the last episode of this season with our fabulous Laura Schwindt is going to be here, and Angela was with us recently doing Calibration Circle, and love seeing you back here too, Angela. We're going to do just a brief introduction for our recorded, our peeps on the recording here in just a moment for Laura, but I do want to take a moment to remind everyone about expansion, which is going to be in January. It's January 7 through 10. I'll put a note in chat, but it's betheexpansion.com. Betheexpansion.com. It's different this year in that it's at an Airbnb. We can only have as many as 16 people. We're already over halfway sold out to that January experience, and it's going to be a lot of fun and really a deep dive on self-development and soul development. The focus of those couple of days together is really about returning to an alignment, what that means for you, like soul alignment, like alignment in your life with the things you're working on and what your work revolves around, and like relationships and all that, and not just talking about what that means, but getting to a place where we utilize exercises and different techniques during our time together so that we can take that alignment back with us. We've already been living it for several days, so take that lived experience back and really emerge on the other side, expanded, emerged, changed. So it's different than what we've done in the past. We have a goal versus a lot of different speakers. I know Laura's going to be there helping us with our eating healthy and some wonderful meal ideas that we're putting together for expansion, and just want to put that out to our community that we have just a couple of spaces left in this wonderful Airbnb. If we all knew each other really well, we could sleep like 8 people in a room, but we're not going to do that to you because this is a huge house and they've got all these wonderful fun things in the backyard to do. It's going to be a lot of fun. But most importantly, it's going to be truly, I don't want to say transformational, life altering, because I think those are used a lot. I think it's really going to, the intent is to emerge, having flexed that muscle of staying in alignment over those days to where we know how to continue to flex that muscle as we step back into our real life. So I'm super excited about it. And thanks for giving me just a moment to be able to share more about that. Betheexpansion.com. And anything else for our community. As of right now with Calibration Circle, this is the last of this season, as I mentioned. There are some big changes happening at my end that we could talk more about later if we have time, but I'm going to be moving expansion and Calibration Circle and everything that's like self-development, soul development out of my business and into a different venue, different offering. So it's not going away. It's just going to be packaged differently and offered differently. So there's more on that coming very soon to the world as a whole. We're going to be running out a whole new website and a lot of information about that, but just wanted to explain why this will be the last Calibration Circle, but there is still our community and we will be serving you somehow differently. And I know there's a lot of intrigue in what I'm saying there. I'm not giving I'm not rolling out the big announcement just yet, but just know that while there are changes underfoot, we still have got you. So I wanted to be sure and say that. Okay, so let's jump into why we're here today. So Laura has agreed to help us round out the season with her presentation around the hidden science of flourishing. You had a fabulous Facebook post today where you were in like a little bottle jar. Did you see that, Angela? You got to check out her Facebook page. It was so cool. But let me tell you a little bit more about Laura for those who are new to Laura. Laura's a dentist. Does that feel like a million years ago?
Yes.
But still very much involved while you're not actively practicing. Oh, and here comes another friend coming in. While you're not actively practicing right now, dentistry, Laura's still very much involved with our leaders in dentistry, our practices, our teams. Um, she has decades of experience in dentistry, and she is an elite level performance coach. And so I was really excited to invite Laura to bring some of her knowledge. And I sat through some of her workshops and have worked with you for several years, Laura. I just feel like you bring such a calm, centered leadership perspective. And so I'm not going to say a whole lot more other than we love you. And we're so glad that you're here. And please take it away.
Thank you, Vanessa. And honored to be here, honored to be a part of Calibration Circle. It feels like a full circle moment because, Vanessa, you were one of the very first people I reached out to when I thought, oh, I want to dip my toe in this world. And you were so encouraging and brought so much shared wisdom. And so thank you. Thank you for hosting me. And I'm honored to be here. So
You.
excellent. All right. And hi, Karen. Maybe she can't hear us. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, she's gone. All right. And I will put it on present here. All right.
Those are pretty
Everybody,
flowers.
what's that?
Those are pretty flowers.
Yeah. Everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
I know you love daisies, and there's some really fun facts about daisies as far as how they point to the sun during the day. I think everybody knows that. But did you know that at night they turn towards each other?
No.
Yeah. And so when it's dark for a daisy, they find strength in pointing to each other and using each other's heat and vibrant energy to survive the night. And I just thought that's so beautiful because I think that's what we as people need to do too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, welcome to the Arete effect, unlocking your hidden science of flourishing. And I know that some of you maybe have just like closed down, some of you still have a full inbox, some of you are squeezing this in between things. And I just want to say thank you. I see you, and I'm honored you're here and honored to bring this to you and hope that you get at least one pearl today. So, all right. As we start, I want to tell you a little bit about this person. She was a frazzled dentist. She owned her own practice. She had 3 small children that were in every activity known to man. She had 3 dogs, 2 cats, 4 guinea pigs, and a lizard. She had a wonderful husband who traveled for work, so he was gone most weekdays. And she was exhausted. She had more to do than she had time in the day. And she hit a very low point. And if you're curious, this person was me several years ago, who hit a low point and decided to hire a life coach. And I credit this life coach with saving my life because I was in that low point. But, you know, I had never had a life coach, so I didn't know what to expect. Got on the first call, and it was really interesting because she started asking some questions about me, and then I started asking questions about her. And she's like, whoa, no. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about me, but I want you to know that this hour is 100% for you. And I was just like, what does that mean even? And got a little sweaty, and I didn't know if this was going to be scary or what. But she held my hand and took me through it, and by the end of the call, after asking some really good questions and really listening, she gave me my very first assignment. And she said, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to get up 15 minutes earlier and do absolutely nothing. And I was like, what? I just told you I'm exhausted and I have more to do than I have time. And you want me to get up early and do nothing? And she's like, yes. Okay. So I did, because I didn't want to disappoint her. So I started. I got up and I sat on the living room floor and did absolutely nothing. And it was painful. It was so painful. It was the slowest 15 minutes of my life. And that lasted about 7, 8 days. And about the 8th or 9th day, I sort of kind of started to enjoy it. It became a little bit of a ritual. And I started to kind of tune in to somebody. I wasn't sure who, because I hadn't been with this person for so long. I'd been going, doing. And so little did I know how productive doing nothing was. And so it became that my life had looked pretty extraordinary on the outside, and maybe this is something you feel. And yet something feels a little off, and you don't really know what. You're running at a high level, you're achieving, you're hitting your goals, and yet you feel like you're kind of pointing in a direction you're not sure of. And so that can be a gap, and that gap has a name, and that gap has a science and a path through it. So what if 15 minutes a day, which is 1% of your day, mind you, 1%. What if you took those 15 minutes and practiced something with intention? And that was the difference between a life that just looks good and one that actually feels good. All right. And so that is the science of flourishing and what we're going to be talking about today. And the first piece of it is having a North Star, knowing where you're going. The second piece of it is knowing how to navigate to that North Star, toward that North Star. The third piece of it is to become adept at being a good navigator, right? To be that person that navigates towards that North Star. And finally, the fourth part is knowing that you got to have the right fuel to make that navigation possible. And so most high achievers, which I would be willing to bet anyone here is a high achiever, most high achievers don't always need a bigger goal. You're already succeeding. You've already succeeded. But maybe that success is no longer pointing home, right? So maybe instead of a bigger goal, it's a truer North Star and a more efficient operating system. So let's talk first about the North Star. And for the North Star, we're going to go back to ancient wisdom. We're going to go back to the ancient Greeks. And they had a word for the North Star. They called it eudaimonia. And eudaimonia translates to good soul. All right. And so it's flourishing, and not just as a feeling, not just feeling good, but as a way of being. It's your ethos, right? And so that Facebook post that you were talking about was me, my daimon, all right, that good soul inside a glass. And it said, in emergency, break glass, right? Because we all have this daimon on the inside of us, this good soul. And so the Greeks also developed one word to explain how to live with this good soul, and that was arete, which roughly translates to living and expressing the best version of yourself moment to moment to moment. And it's important to recognize that this does not mean perfection, that this means that you rise to the occasion no matter what the constraints are and bring your best self. All right. So the Greeks named the North Star. And then if we go to modern science, we look at positive psychology. And positive psychology is one of my favorite favorite things to study. It's a scientific study of what makes life most worth living. Right? So who wouldn't want to know, what is it that makes life so fun, so joyful to be in? And so positive psychology started looking at all the ancient traditions, and they came up with 4 virtues that all the ancient traditions had in them. And they were wisdom, courage, discipline, and love. All right. So those are called the 4 cardinal virtues. And then they started studying the virtues that most correlated with well-being, and they came up with 5. And so those virtues were hope, curiosity, zest, gratitude, and love. So love is not just a cardinal virtue, but it's also correlated with well-being. And so love kind of counts twice, which is pretty special, right? And so modern science confirms that in order to flourish, what we want to put virtues in action. These virtues are virtues. The more we put them into action, the more we use them every day, the more we're going to embody flourishing and feel like we are living a life worth living. All right, so the Greeks named the North Star, and that North Star, that guiding light, and modern science confirmed it and gave us the virtues. So eudaimonia, good soul, living that with arete, being your best self moment to moment, taking your virtues and putting them into action, living them daily. And so it's great to have these as theories, right? But then how do we put this into action? What kind of a map can we use? And this is where kind of a different operating system can really help us navigate this. And this is something called the continuum code. All right. And this is 5 recalibration points that kind of dismantle how we normally operate. All right. So if we look at the continuum code, the first piece of the continuum code is intention. All right. And where this gets confusing is a lot of times past operating systems, we've set goals. And goals are super important. I'm not dismissing goals, but a goal is external, whereas intention is internal. We don't achieve intention, we practice it. All right. So to give you an example, an intention of mine is to age in a healthy manner. I want to be healthy in my older years. And so I have goals that support that, right? Eating goals, moving goals, connecting goals, sleeping goals. So you can see how they play together, but intention is more of an ethos of how I'm going to operate to get to those goals. All right. It clarifies your North Star, what is true. All right. Now, a big piece of the continuum code is recalibration. So you can set an intention, but it's always important to recalibrate and come back and see if you're living that intention, if that intention needs to shift. So that's step 1. Step 2, receptivity. All right. And this one, I think, is the trickiest, because as high achievers, as soon as we have an intention, as soon as we know what goals that we want to accomplish, we're ready to get busy. Let's go. Let's start working. Let's put it into action, right? But this is where the continuum code says, wait a minute. Let's pause for a moment. Let's get receptive. Let's decide to see what's possible. Let's open up and remove any blocks and tune into that inner wisdom first. All right. So that's step 2. Step 3 is another challenging one, surrendering. All right. Surrendering sounds passive, but it's really active in the sense of You are releasing control of the outcome. In other words, you're building trust. You've set your intention, you've received, and you've tuned in to what's important to you. You've recalibrated, and now you're surrendering to the outcome. This or something better, right? And there's a fun story that goes with this. And it's about a golfer who was really focused on the outcome of winning tournaments. And he was so focused on it, it was messing up his game. His shot was off. And so he hired a coach, and this coach really worked with him and said, all right, let's surrender the thought about winning the tournament. Let's focus on your process of your swing. And that's it. I only want you to focus on the next swing you take. All right. So they really worked through this, and he was in a tournament and he was making a putt, and he made the putt and was putting his putter back or giving it to his caddy. And all of a sudden the crowd started cheering, and his wife ran out and hugged him. And he was like, what is going on? She's like, you won the tournament. And he was so focused on just staying with his process that he hadn't even realized that he was even close to winning the tournament and that he won. And so this or something better, surrendering to the outcome and then recalibrating. Once you've done that, this is where, as a high achiever, you finally get to put, rub your hands together and take some action. But the beautiful part about this now is that this action isn't from urgency. It's not from anxiety. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? It's from a place of intention. It's the next right action. Right? And so it becomes more productive for you. It becomes more aligned for you. And because you've been receptive and you've surrendered, you take that right action, you recalibrate, and then you'll find out what the next right action is. And last but not least, and probably the most important, is to bring presence and gratitude. And we'll talk about why this is so important, but being present to the current moment, because that's all there is, and bringing gratitude to that moment and what's coming up through this practice of the continuum. And so the real question becomes that, you are always somewhere on this continuum code, but whether or not you're paying attention to it. All right. So I think that is the biggest piece of it, is that recalibration. Where am I on this continuum? And it is a continuum. It just keeps going. And where do I need to recalibrate? And so what typically happens, and I got to move heads here so that I can see everybody here, but if it will let me, there we go. I'd love, in the comments, if one of these resonates with you, let me know. Old operating systems, one that has served us as a high achiever, we often set goals, but rarely think about our intention, how we want to feel, how we want to show up when we're achieving those goals. All right. Maybe we do that, but then we relentlessly move right away to action, to executing and scanning for problems. And we don't take the time to be receptive. Or we start optimizing everything so that we can get to the finish line as soon as possible. And we don't surrender that there might be an outcome that's even better than the one we're going for. All right. Or we're taking action constantly. We're busy, but not productive. We're not asking ourselves, is this the next right step? And then we're achieving, but maybe we're not present for it. We're always on to the next thing. I did that. Now what's the next one? What's the next one? So let me know in the chat, if one of those resonates with you. Awesome. Dr. Leslie says, thank you. Setting an intention has had a profound effect on my life. And Vanessa says, I relate to a mix of it all. Yeah, right. I know. And I think that's why recalibration is so important, is because we can get into that mix. It's easy. And so just taking that pause to recalibrate. Awesome. All right. Sorry, your heads are in my way. There we go. All right. So we've talked about the North Star, eudaimonia, good soul, through Arete, bringing our best self moment to moment, flourishing by putting our virtues into action. We have a map, we have the continuum code, and how to recalibrate on that continuum code. So now let's build the navigator, and the navigator is you. Yeah. Isn't that a great picture? I love his energy. Oh. All right. So how do we navigate from Arete with that intention of bringing our best self moment to moment to moment? How do we do that confidently? And the word confidence is so important here. And so there's three ways, and there's a lot of ways to build confidence, but there's three ways that we're going to look at today. All right. The first one is to acknowledge and accept rule number one of life. It's supposed to be challenging. All right. Challenges are not signs that you're doing something wrong in life. They're indicators that you're doing something right. All right. Because challenges provide us an opportunity to learn and get stronger. It's sort of like going to the gym. You wouldn't go to the gym and lift styrofoam weights and expect that you're going to get stronger, right? You go to the gym to challenge yourself with stronger weights so that you do change. All right. And challenges are really the stoic gods bestowing on us moments to shine. Right. So if we accept that life is supposed to be challenging and celebrate that, actually, that is one way to build this confidence and bring your best self moment to moment. The second way is to think of this word anti-fragile. All right. So we all know what fragile means. If you have a glass and it falls on the floor and it breaks, that's a fragile glass. In today's world of stress, we often talk about resilience. That's that next step, resilience, where stress hits, but we bounce back. Well, if we really want to be confident in Arete, bringing our best self, we want to recognize anti-fragility. Anti-fragility means stress hits and you get stronger. All right. And so if you think about a flame, you think about a candle, small little candle, and the wind, a challenge comes, wind, it blows the candle out, right? But if that candle now has become a fire, a big fire, right? And the wind comes, it fuels the fire. And so that's where anti-fragility comes. And that's where that picture of the fire is there for you, is to think about, okay, challenges come, I get stronger, I should celebrate them. Bring it on, let's go. All right, anti-fragile. So it's a different way to look at challenges and show up as the best version of yourself and not be, oh gosh, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with my life. Why is this challenge happening? No, I'm anti-fragile. It might not be fun, right? I'm not saying every challenge is fun or a good time to get through, but you can look at it as, you know what? I bet at the end of this challenge, I'm going to have learned something or be stronger. And that's a beautiful thing. All right. So when we apply rule number one, that it's supposed to be challenging, and we know that we're anti-fragile, we always get stronger with challenges, that builds our trust in ourselves. And that's actually what confidence means. Confidere means with intense trust, an intense trust in yourself. So when you recognize this, you start to know that challenges are actually part of my reason for being here, because they help me ascend. They help me get better. They help me show up as the best version of myself. And then we can look at our past challenges, our mastery experiences, and actually use them as fuel for our current challenges. So this is where it really gets fun. All right. So let's say you have a current challenge. You can actually look back at a past challenge and reframe it and look at what came out of that past challenge. What helped you become more powerful? What did you learn? What was positive? And then you can apply that to the present challenge that you're in and create a bigger, better future. And so this is fun because this is where we can actually blend timelines, right? Like we can pull from the past, reframe it, use it in the present to inform the future and actually bring your future self closer to where you are now. And so an example of this is, my present challenge is I've got a little hamstring issue, right? It's kind of achy, it's kind of tweaked. And in the past, I hurt my hip. And so I think back to that hurt hip and I think, what virtues did I use when I hurt my hip? Well, I got curious. The first thing I did was, what's going on? Is it my shoes? Is it my gait? Is it the fact that I'm not recovering enough? I'm not eating properly. I'm not fueling myself. I went in and went to a physical therapist and asked for their wisdom. So I used their wisdom. And then they gave me the courage that I needed to do something about this injury, right? And then I applied some discipline. I started doing the physical therapy. I started resting. I started eating better, all the things, right? And it gave me hope that I could get through this injury. And then I had gratitude and more zest because I was taking better care of myself. So I used all these virtues in that past challenge. So this present challenge with my hamstring, I can say, oh, what did I do back then? Maybe I can apply some of that now to inform my future and bring those timelines together. So it's a way to really enjoy your mastery, your own mastery experiences, and recognize that you have gotten through every single challenge in your life. And I dare say that every single challenge has given you a gift. It has given you wisdom. It has given you courage. It has given you strength for the next challenge. And so again, this is where we can blend all of this together, the past, the present, the future, and the continuum that continues to ask you to recalibrate. What's your intention with this challenge? How can you be receptive with this challenge and tune into your own infinite wisdom? How can you surrender the outcome and think this or something better? What are the next right actions you can take with this challenge? And how can you be present and grateful for this challenge in the moment? So you have the North Star. It's clear. Eudaimonia, good soul, living with Arete, closing the gap moment to moment, putting your virtues in action. You have the map, the continuum code. You have a navigator that's now confident and anti-fragile, but none of it moves without fuel. And so this is the final piece. All right. There are two fuels, two very important fuels. And these are the two virtues that are most correlated with human flourishing. And they are hope and zest. So hope ends up being your strategic engine, and zest ends up being your power, your fuel. Groovy, baby, right? Isn't that awesome? I love these retro colors. So all right, so let's look at hope. A lot of times people think of hope and it gets a bad rap. They think of hope as wishful thinking or toxic positivity. But if you actually apply the 3 skills of hope, it becomes a strategy. And so the 3 skills are: number 1, you need to believe that the future can be better than where you are right now. Number 2, you need to own your agency, your ability to influence your future. And then the third part of hope is knowing that there are multiple pathways to get there. All right, there's not ever usually one way. So this is going to illustrate how important hope is. And this is not something I condone. This is going to talk about a little study done with rats, but it really illustrates the power of hope. And so researchers took some rats and they put them in little swimming pools and they had them swim. I know, Vanessa. Don't worry, it's just wait. They had them swim. And they were swimming, and they found out that at about 15 minutes, they gave up. That was it. They couldn't swim anymore. So they plucked them out, put them away, put them in their homes, fed them, came back a few weeks later. And they put them in the pools again. All right. So they're swimming. And at 14 minutes, they plucked them out, put them on a little towel, dried them off, gave them a little food, and then put them back in the swimming pool. And those rats swam for 60 hours. So when they had hope that they were going to get rescued, they kept going 240% longer than when they didn't have hope. So it just illustrates how important hope is. And yes, this study would not be condoned today. Yeah, but it is an important piece of data. And there's actually data from Gallup that shows that in the workforce, leaders that inspire hope in their team is 69% more engaged than a leader who doesn't inspire hope. So hope is a strategy. All right. And hope fits on the continuum code, right? You have to have hope if you're going to set an intention. You have to have hope if you're going to tune in to your own infinite wisdom. You have to have hope if you're going to surrender. You have to have hope if you know you're going to take the next right action. And hope and gratitude really go hand in hand. So that's one fuel. The second fuel is zest. It's one of my favorite words in the whole wide world. And it's your energy, it's your vitality, it's your spark. So if hope gives you the strategy, zest gives you the fuel to pursue it. And for this, I have a fun little interactive, well, it's not really interactive. It's just something for you to think about and answer some questions. And that is the Thrive Audit. All right. So if we talk about zest, we talk a lot about the fundamentals that help us with our energy. And there's 7 fundamentals. You see them down here on the bottom: eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, focusing, connecting, and celebrating. And then on the right, you see a scale, or the left, you see a scale. 1 is low, 10 is high. And so I'm going to read some questions, and I'd love you to just jot where you feel you're at with that question, just the number between 1 and 10. 1 is low, 10 is awesome, I'm doing phenomenal. All right, so the first question is, and this is a snapshot, this is today, so how you're feeling about this today. I have nourished my body in ways that give me lasting energy. So give yourself a score, 1 through 10. And don't overthink this. This is just a snapshot, just data, no judgment. All right, moving. I have moved my body today in ways that boost my mood, focus, and strength. Give yourself a score. Awesome. Sleeping. I have given my mind and body enough rest to repair, restore, and perform. All right, breathing. I have paused, taken a breath, and managed stress intentionally throughout the day. And give yourself a score, 1 through 10. Focusing. I have actively and intentionally strengthened my ability to focus today on what matters most. Again, 1 through 10. Connecting. I have nurtured meaningful relationships in the different facets of my life. And then finally, celebrating. I have recognized progress and I have savored wins, big or small. Awesome. So this is a snapshot, and this is a fun audit that you can do anytime. You can do this once a month. You can do this once a week. You can do this once a day to kind of just see, get curious about where you're at, where you can celebrate, and where needs a little bit of work. So I'm curious, and if you want to put in the chat, give me, if you look at these fundamentals and you see where you are across all 7 of them, give me a 1 to 5 score. Are you doing great? That'd be a 5 on all the fundamentals. 1 would be low. Or where are you on that? Banana cake after lunch, 4. That sounds delicious. 3, 4. You guys are doing pretty good. Awesome. 5 on all except sleeping. Fabulous. That's excellent. So you guys are doing great. Yay. Let's give each other, let's celebrate. And I want y'all to reach around and give yourselves a pat on the back. That's awesome. So, but again, this is a great way to just check in, to recalibrate, right? So it's kind of a fun thing, because if we think about that 1%, what is an area, if you do this Thrive audit, that you could make a shift? Where could you maybe spend 15 minutes a day, 1% of your attention over the next week, and really shift your trajectory? Because really, we're all only 1 or 2 key habits away from massive transformation. 1%, if practiced consistently, can change the trajectory of your life. And so that's where the Thrive audit comes in and helps you with your zest. And again, zest is so important if we're going to be on this continuum code. All right. We need our energy to set good intentions and stick to them. We need our energy to take the time to be receptive and not reactive. We need our energy to surrender and let life unfold into this or something better. We need the energy to take action, and we need energy to be present in today's world more than anything. So you can see how important that is. Through this, I want you to know that you have everything you need. So let's bring this home. Remember her? Running the dental practice, on fumes, exhausted, stretched thin. Life coach told her to wake up 15 minutes earlier and do nothing. And she thought the life coach was crazy. Little did I know that doing nothing was the most productive thing I had ever done. And it wasn't wasted time, but it was my very first recalibration. And so that's the full arc. All right. the North Star, eudaimonia via Arete, being your best self moment to moment to moment. Flourishing by putting your virtues into action, using the map, the continuum code, and recognizing that you're always somewhere on it, recalibrating. Making sure that you, as the navigator, have that forward intention of living with Arete and bringing that anti-fragile confidence to everything you do. And then the fuel, making sure your hope and your zest are there to fuel your journey. And so it's important to recognize that these virtues, these words, are not just a concept. All right. Putting your virtues in action is a daily practice. And it's kind of cool because these are the cardinal virtues and the positive psychology virtues, but you each individually have your own personal virtues that are magical to you. And so if you want, you can go to viacharacter.org. VIA just stands for Virtues in Action. And you can take their free assessment. It's free, no strings attached. Over 3 million people have taken it. And you'll get some great information on your personal virtues and how to apply them in your life. It's really fun. So the only question that matters is, what is one way that you could take 15 minutes a day and express the best version of yourself? And I just like to say thank you. And, you know, if this stirred anything for anyone, if you ever want, this is my mission, this is my passion, I love to talk about this, just give me a ring, set up a pause that changes everything call, complimentary, no pitch, and I'm here for you.
Aw, that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's launch into our conversation about this. I'm gonna hit the record off. We always turn record off first so that we can have just open conversation. But before I do, thank you so much, Laura. I mean, those are beautiful slides and really powerful content. Did you guys enjoy that?
Thank you.
For sure. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Let me hit this off. I'm gonna try to figure that out a minute here. Record. Here we go. Stop recording.